Good evening, everyone. I want to speak to you today about something that I believe many of us have been conditioned to accept as the highest virtue, kindness. Now, I know this may sound strange, maybe even harsh. After all, kindness is one of those things we're all taught to uphold. But I want to challenge you today, stop being kind. Kindness and authenticity are two values that are often celebrated in our society, yet they can sometimes conflict with one another in subtle ways. While kindness is widely seen as a virtue, something that should be practiced and spread, authenticity is equally important in our lives. But there's a tension between the two. Sometimes kindness demands us to hide the truth to avoid confrontation or discomfort. Authenticity, on the other hand, calls us to be real, to speak our minds, and to act in ways that align with our true selves. At first glance, kindness seems like an easy and universally good choice. We're taught from a young age to be kind, to treat others with respect and care. However, there are situations where kindness can start to feel more like a mask. When kindness is done out of obligation or simply because it's what others expect, we can lose touch with what we truly need and desire. This isn't kindness in its purest form, it's a performance. It's a way of appearing generous and loving on the outside, but it doesn't necessarily reflect the honest, deeper motivations we should be acting from. Authenticity, on the other hand, involves a much deeper sense of self-awareness. It means not only being honest with others, but also being honest with ourselves. It's about having the courage to say no when we need to speak up when something doesn't feel right, and to show up in the world as our truest selves, flaws, imperfections, and all. Authenticity often requires vulnerability, and in a world that encourages conformity and safety, being authentic can feel risky. People might not always like the truth or the way we express it, but the power of authenticity lies in its ability to create real connections grounded in mutual respect for who we truly are, rather than who we think others want us to be. When kindness clashes with authenticity, it often shows up in the form of people-pleasing behaviors. Many of us have been conditioned to value kindness so highly that we avoid conflict at all costs. Saying no or setting boundaries may feel like an act of unkindness, but in reality, it's one of the most authentic and self-respecting actions we can take. If we are always saying yes to others to avoid disappointing them, we risk losing our own voice, needs, and priorities in the process. In trying to be kind, we can neglect the most important form of self-care, honoring our own truth. Another area where kindness can hinder authenticity is in our relationships with others. While kindness often leads us to go along with things to maintain harmony, true relationships are built on a foundation of honesty, even when it's difficult. When we choose kindness over authenticity, we're essentially asking for acceptance and approval, but at the cost of our true self. Real love, real friendship, and real trust are nurtured when we can be authentic with each other, when we can share our hopes, our fears, our weaknesses, and our dreams. But this kind of openness is impossible if we're too afraid of upsetting someone or rocking the boat with difficult conversations. In many cases, the most authentic way to show kindness is to stop pretending. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is to tell them the hard truth, even if it's uncomfortable. If a friend is heading down the wrong path, the kindest action isn't to stay silent in the name of kindness, but to speak up, to challenge them, and to help them course correct. This doesn't mean being rude or harsh. It means being truthful, even when the truth is tough. The balance between kindness and authenticity is a delicate one, but it's essential. It's about knowing when to lean into kindness, when to stand firm in authenticity, and when to find the courage to be both at the same time. True kindness doesn't require us to lose our voice. It actually encourages us to find it. And authenticity doesn't have to be harsh. It can be delivered with care, empathy, and respect. Finding harmony between the two means showing up as your whole self authentically, and with kindness that truly comes from the heart. Boundaries and self-respect go hand in hand, yet they are concepts that are often misunderstood or overlooked. Boundaries are the lines we set to protect our emotional, physical, and mental well-being. They define what we are willing to accept from others and what we are not. Self-respect, on the other hand, is the regard we have for ourselves, our ability to honor our own needs, desires, and values. Together, these two ideas create a healthy foundation for living a balanced, fulfilling life. However, the need for boundaries is not always recognized, especially in a culture that encourages people to be accommodating and selfless. The first step in understanding boundaries is recognizing that they are not about building walls to isolate ourselves from others. Boundaries are about protection. They allow us to maintain our energy, peace of mind, and emotional health. They help us know when to say no without feeling guilty, when to step away from situations that drain us, and when to assert our needs in relationships. Boundaries can be physical, such as needing space from others, or emotional, such as refusing to accept disrespectful behavior. Unfortunately, many people struggle with setting boundaries because they fear rejection, criticism, or disappointment from others. We are often conditioned to believe that saying no is selfish, or that putting our own needs first is inconsiderate. But this couldn't be further from the truth. In fact, a lack of boundaries is often a sign of low self-respect. When we don't set boundaries, we inadvertently allow others to take advantage of our time, energy, and emotions, which can lead to burnout, resentment, and a sense of powerlessness. Self-respect is at the core of setting boundaries. It is the understanding that we deserve to be treated with dignity and that we are worthy of our own attention and care. When we respect ourselves, we recognize that our feelings, our time, and our well-being matter. Self-respect means not tolerating mistreatment, disrespect, or neglect, even if it comes from those we love or admire. It requires us to stand firm in our values, to honor our needs, and to prioritize our emotional health, even when it feels uncomfortable. Boundaries are an essential expression of self-respect because they communicate to others that we are not willing to compromise our dignity or sense of self for their convenience or approval. For example, when someone repeatedly interrupts you in conversation or disregards your time, setting a boundary such as saying, "I need you to listen when I speak," or "I cannot meet with you at this time," is a powerful way to uphold your self-respect. It sends the message that you are not willing to accept behavior that undermines your worth. In doing so, you reinforce your self-respect and create space for healthier, more balanced relationships. Setting boundaries also requires a degree of vulnerability and courage. It's not always easy to say no or to stand firm when others push back. But this vulnerability is a necessary part of self-respect. It's about being authentic and courageous enough to express what you need, even if it risks conflict or discomfort. Self-respect means being able to tolerate the discomfort of someone else's disappointment or frustration when you assert your boundaries. It's about being willing to disappoint others in order to avoid disappointing yourself. Ultimately, the practice of setting boundaries teaches us that self-respect is not a luxury, it's a necessity. Without boundaries, we cannot fully honor who we are or what we need. Boundaries give us the freedom to live authentically, to engage in relationships that honor our time and energy, and to create space for growth. Without them, we risk losing sight of our true selves, becoming overwhelmed by the demands of others, and finding ourselves in situations that drain us. In this way, boundaries are not just a form of self-protection, they are a declaration of our worth and our right to live according to our values. Overextending oneself is a common pitfall that many people face, especially in a world that constantly demands more and more productivity, more generosity, more responsibility. The pressure to meet these expectations can lead to burnout, stress, and a loss of personal balance. While it's natural to want to help others achieve success, or be seen as capable, the dangers of overextending can be profound and long-lasting if not addressed. At the heart of overextending is the idea of saying yes to too many things, often at the expense of your own well-being. When we overcommit ourselves, we spread our energy, time, and resources so thin that we can no longer perform at our best in any one area. Overextending may feel productive at first, like you're being useful or achieving a lot. But in reality, this constant stretching leads to diminishing returns, where the quality of your work, relationships, and self-care begin to suffer. The first danger of overextending is physical and emotional exhaustion. Our bodies and minds have limits, and when we push beyond them repeatedly, the inevitable result is fatigue. Chronic exhaustion leads to poor health outcomes, such as weakened immunity, difficulty concentrating, and even depression. When we're constantly doing for others or meeting expectations, we neglect our own needs, which ultimately leads. This exhaustion can affect everything from our ability to think clearly to how we engage with loved ones. Over time, it becomes more difficult to maintain enthusiasm and energy for the things that really matter. Another danger of overextending is the erosion of personal boundaries. When we say yes to every request or take on too much responsibility, we begin to sacrifice our own boundaries. Boundaries are essential for maintaining a sense of self and ensuring that our needs are met. Without them, we risk losing our identity as we become defined by what others want or expect of us. This can result in feelings of resentment, frustration, and a sense of being taken advantage of. Over time, we may begin to feel like we are not in control of our lives or decisions, as we're constantly reacting to the demands of others instead of prioritizing our own well-being. The third danger lies in the loss of focus and decline in performance. When we overextend ourselves, our attention is divided across too many areas, leading to a lack of focus. As a result, the quality of our work and relationships declines. The multitasking we believe will make us more efficient often has the opposite effect, causing us to make mistakes, overlook details, and fail to give our best effort. By taking on too much, we stop excelling in any one area, and our productivity becomes scattered, ineffective, and ultimately frustrating. It's easy to get caught up in the idea of being busy, but busyness does not equal productivity. Overextending also undermines personal fulfillment. When we spread ourselves too thin, we fail to fully engage in activities or relationships that bring us joy and meaning. Life becomes a checklist of obligations rather than a series of experiences to be savored. We might find ourselves in a cycle of constant doing without ever feeling a sense of accomplishment or satisfaction. Without taking time for ourselves to rest, reflect, or pursue our passions, we miss out on the deeper sense of fulfillment that comes from living intentionally. Finally, overextending can have a negative impact on relationships. When we are overcommitted, we become less available emotionally and physically for the people we care about. Our loved ones may feel neglected or unimportant as we prioritize tasks and obligations over spending quality time with them. This strain on relationships can lead to misunderstandings, frustration, and even conflict. Over time, the relationships that matter most to us may begin to wither, not because of a lack of love or care, but because we have no energy left to nurture them properly. The dangers of overextending are significant and wide-ranging. While the desire to do more, help others, and succeed is understandable, it's essential to recognize the limits of our capacity. By learning to set boundaries, prioritize self-care, and say no when necessary, we can protect ourselves from the harmful effects of overextension and maintain a healthier, more balanced life. Growth through challenge is one of the most powerful and transformative concepts in life. It's easy to seek comfort, to stay in the familiar, and to avoid difficult situations. But real growth doesn't happen in those moments of ease. It happens when we are pushed outside of our comfort zones, when we are forced to confront obstacles, face fears, and work through difficulties. The challenges we encounter in life, whether big or small, are often the catalyst for the personal transformation that leads to greater strength, resilience, and wisdom. One of the most important aspects of growth through challenge is that it forces us to expand our limits. We all have perceived boundaries, limits on what we think we can handle, achieve, or endure. These limits are often self-imposed or influenced by past experiences. However, when we face a challenge, whether it's a new job, a difficult relationship, or a personal setback, we are pushed to test and expand those boundaries. What we thought we couldn't handle becomes something we learn to cope with, and slowly, our capacity for what we can do grows. Each challenge we overcome adds a layer to our self-confidence and helps us realize that we are more capable than we initially thought. Another essential part of growth through challenge is the development of resilience. Resilience is the ability to bounce back from adversity and keep moving forward, even in the face of setbacks. Challenges often bring failure, disappointment, and frustration, but these experiences are critical in building resilience. They teach us how to adapt, how to keep going when things don't go as planned, and how to find strength in moments of weakness. The more challenges we face, the more resilient we become. We learn that setbacks are not permanent, that they are just part of the journey. The resilience we develop through facing hardship empowers us to take on even greater challenges in the future. Growth through challenge also requires developing a growth mindset. A growth mindset is the belief that abilities and intelligence can be developed through dedication and hard work. This mindset is essential for navigating challenges because it allows us to view difficulties as opportunities for learning rather than obstacles to avoid. People with a growth mindset see failure as part of the process of improvement. They don't see a setback as an end, but as a lesson to be learned from. This approach encourages perseverance, creativity, and problem solving as it pushes us to keep seeking ways to improve and adapt in the face of adversity. Moreover, challenges force us to develop new skills. When we are comfortable, we often rely on what we already know. But when we face challenges, we are pushed to outside of our normal routines and learn new strategies, tools, and ways of thinking. Whether we are learning how to communicate more effectively, developing emotional intelligence, or improving our technical skills, every challenge is an opportunity to acquire new knowledge. These new skills don't just help us overcome the specific challenge at hand, they add to our overall toolkit, preparing us for the challenges that lie ahead. Lastly, growth through challenge also nurtures self-awareness. As we navigate tough situations, we begin to learn more about ourselves, our strengths, weaknesses, fears, and desires. Challenges can be mirrors that reflect our true selves, showing us where we need to grow and where we are holding ourselves back. They force us to confront uncomfortable truths about who we are, what we value, and what we want from life. Through this self-discovery, we gain a deeper understanding of our motivations and aspirations, which helps guide us toward more purposeful and fulfilling lives. Growth through challenge is not easy, but it is essential for living a meaningful and empowered life. It teaches us to expand our capabilities, build resilience, embrace a growth mindset, acquire new skills, and become more self-aware. Each challenge we face is a stepping stone toward becoming the best version of ourselves. The power of tough love is often misunderstood. In a world that values kindness, gentleness, and emotional support, the idea of being tough or harsh in the name of love can seem contradictory. However, tough love is not about cruelty or indifference. It is about offering love in its truest form, a love that empowers, challenges, and ultimately helps individuals grow and improve, even when it is uncomfortable. It's the kind of love that sees beyond immediate feelings and focuses on long-term well-being, guiding people toward the strength and self-discipline they need to thrive. Tough love is about setting boundaries and holding people accountable, even when it's difficult. In relationships, whether they are familiar, romantic, or friendships, we often want to protect the people we care about. But protection doesn't always mean sheltering them from the consequences of their actions. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is step back and allow others to face the realities of their decisions, even if it causes them temporary pain or discomfort. By setting clear boundaries and expectations, we show respect for both ourselves and the other person's growth process. Tough love encourages personal responsibility, teaching others that their actions have consequences, both positive and negative. Another important aspect of tough love is its ability to help people realize their potential. Often, people are stuck in unhealthy patterns, whether it's in their behavior, mindset, or habits, and they may not see the need for change. Tough love involves stepping in when necessary to point out the truth, even if it's hard to hear. It's about challenging someone to rise above mediocrity or complacency. When you show someone their capabilities, encourage them to stretch beyond their comfort zones, and remind them of their worth, you are not being harsh, you are helping them realize their potential. Tough love can push individuals to see a better version of themselves and to strive toward it. One of the most powerful elements of tough love is that it teaches self-discipline. While kindness may offer temporary comfort, tough love instills long-term growth. It helps people understand the importance of delayed gratification, the need for hard work, and the value of perseverance. By refusing to allow someone to take shortcuts or avoid the hard work required to reach their goals, you are teaching them resilience and fortitude. Tough love often means resisting the urge to make things easier for someone or to rescue them when they face difficulties. Instead, it allows them to develop the inner strength to solve problems on their own and learn from their mistakes. Tough love also plays a crucial role in honesty and transparency. Sometimes we hold back the truth in an effort to protect someone's feelings. While this may seem like an act of kindness, it often prevents the individual from seeing the full picture or realizing the areas in which they need to improve. Tough love encourages open, honest communication even when the truth is uncomfortable. This kind of transparency helps people make informed decisions, confront their flaws, and ultimately grow from those difficult realizations. It is a form of love that values truth over temporary comfort, understanding that growth is only possible when people are fully aware of the reality of their situations. At its core, tough love is about empowering others to make better choices and become the best version of themselves. It is about showing that real love is not always about soft words or easing someone's pain, but about equipping them with the tools, guidance, and support needed to face life's challenges head-on. While it may be uncomfortable in the moment, tough love is the kind of love that builds strong, resilient individuals who can navigate the difficulties of life with integrity and strength. It may be hard to give and even harder to receive, but in the end, it can make all the difference in someone's growth and transformation. Transformation requires action, because change, in its truest form, does not happen by simply wishing for it or hoping that it will occur. The journey from where you are to where you want to be, whether in your personal life, your career, or your relationships, demands more than just positive thoughts or intentions. Transformation requires deliberate steps, consistent effort, and most importantly, action. The first step in any transformation is awareness. Before you can change, you need to recognize where you are and where you want to go. This self-awareness is crucial because it provides clarity about what needs to shift. However, awareness alone is not enough. You may have a clear vision of your goals or desires, but without taking the necessary steps toward them, they will remain out of reach. Awareness serves as the foundation, but it's the action that builds the structure of your transformation. Action is what turns dreams into reality. Without taking concrete steps, transformation is nothing more than a concept. It's easy to become paralyzed by fear, uncertainty, or doubt and avoid action because it feels safer to stay where you are. But the truth is that transformation requires stepping into the unknown. It requires pushing past the discomfort of change and taking risks. Change, no matter how small, can be uncomfortable because it challenges the status quo. Yet, it's in the discomfort of taking action that growth happens. Each step forward, no matter how small, is a step toward becoming the person you want to be. Furthermore, transformation requires consistency. It's not enough to take action once and expect change to happen. True transformation happens when you are willing to show up day after day to put in the work. This is where many people falter. They may take action for a brief period, but when the results don't come immediately, they become discouraged and give up. Transformation is a long-term process, and the results often don't show up overnight. Consistency is what makes the difference between those who transform their lives and those who fall short of their potential. Even when the progress is slow, the consistent effort eventually compounds, leading to significant change. Another important aspect of transformation is resilience in the face of setbacks. Transformation is rarely a smooth journey. There will be challenges, failures, and moments of doubt along the way. But these setbacks are part of the process. They are not signs that you should stop, but rather opportunities to learn, adapt, and grow stronger. Every failure is a lesson that informs your next move, and without taking action in the face of setbacks, you cannot experience the true depth of transformation. Resilience ensures that you don't quit when things get hard. Instead, you adjust your approach, learn from your mistakes, and continue moving forward. Moreover, transformation requires taking responsibility for your own progress. It's easy to blame external factors, circumstances, people, or luck for why things aren't changing. But the reality is that transformation is within your control. It requires the understanding that you have the power to shape your life through the actions you take. By taking ownership of your decisions, actions, and mindset, you reclaim control over your transformation and can direct it in the direction that aligns with your goals. Finally, transformation requires commitment to the process. It's easy to get distracted by the end goal, but true transformation is about the journey. It's about committing to the person you need to become to achieve your desired outcome. This commitment involves not only putting in the work, but also embracing the lessons, struggles, and changes that come along the way. The process of transformation requires patience, determination, and a willingness to grow, qualities that are nurtured through consistent and purposeful action. In the end, transformation cannot occur without action. Awareness and intention are important, but they are just the starting points. It's the commitment to act, to consistently show up and push through difficulties, that leads to meaningful, lasting change. Transformation isn't a passive experience, it's an active journey that requires you to step forward into your future with intention and determination. In conclusion, transformation, growth, and self-improvement are all processes that require intentional action. Whether through embracing tough love, setting boundaries, or pushing through challenges, the key to lasting change lies in our willingness to act even when it's uncomfortable. Growth comes from facing discomfort, holding ourselves accountable, and remaining resilient in the face of setbacks. By taking deliberate steps and staying consistent in our efforts, we create the conditions for transformation. Ultimately, the power to change our lives rests in our hands, and it is through action that we unlock the potential for a better future.